Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Saturday Smackdown for the week 20th of September 2014. This is game number 3, attempt number 2 in the best of 7 series played between Boneng and Goongoon for this event, if we can call it that. I suppose it is an event. A weekly event, I might add. We're on the map Mongolia today. Here we have spawning in the west of the map, in the colour blue, playing as indeed the French Goongoon. And starting with 2 coin crates. I think that was the same as the last game there, actually. But, you know, if he does the same things as last time, he's of course going to go for that early market and use that coin there to buy 100 wood for a house and get his hunting dogs and some really nice standard stuff from France. But, in the east of the map, in the colour red, playing as the Sioux, we have Boneng playing, yes, as the Sioux, as I mentioned there. Actually, no need to say that again. Yeah, what do you think? He's, of course, got a very fast-moving explorer, and he's got an extra explorer as you get on this map from that treasure that always spawns in your base. Going to looking for lots of yaks.
Yep. And, of course, Sioux does have kind of the little bit of an advantage that their explorer moves incredibly fast on this map, making for picking up those yaks very easy. I'm a bit surprised with Boneng's yak finding style. It seemed like he's playing more of like an interception style.
Yeah. An aggressive yak steal. Like I saw him go straight over there. And yeah, normally you scout your own base, right?
Right. Well, I mean, you're usually fairly guaranteed to have a decent amount of yaks around your own base. But, you know, okay, if we're on something that grinds my gears, finding yaks and finding, like, the cows and stuff like that is another thing that I just don't really like in this game. Like, I guess it's because it can be really unbalanced at times, that like one guy will get like 12 super overpowered like gather units and someone will get like none. I don't like that mechanic, honestly, in this game. I think that it would just be better if maps in general didn't have livestock. I think livestock should be a more playable like aspect of the game, but I think it should stem around like livestock pen play and not having random yaks on the map.
Yeah, or perhaps if you do start with livestock, maybe they should spawn in a like a set place in your base, much like on perhaps what is that really long map on the one where you sometimes start with llamas.
Arcania.
That's the one. Perhaps more like that. What do these yaks add to this game? Obviously, you want to grab those. They're a big source of food later on in the game. And, yeah, is it important? How important is it to get these yaks?
Well, I mean, that is what their primary purpose is. I mean, especially for these 2 civilizations. Obviously, for some civilizations, it's better than others. Obviously, all of the Asian civs benefit in some way from these yaks, more so than maybe any of the European civs, just due to the fact that Japan can build shrines on them, India gets XP from them, and China has an innate way to fatten them with their villages, which is certainly good. But for this game, they're really just going to be an extra food source. I mean, we take a look around the map. There's not a lot of hunt on this map, or there is a decent amount of hunt, but it's very spread out and very difficult to secure in very awkward places on the map.
I consider this a low hunt map, even though it's actually not.
Yeah, I consider it almost a no hunt map. It's very low. It's
you haven't played Ozarks. That thing is just complete BS.
Yeah, well, the fan patch version of Ozarks is actually a pretty good map, but that's beside the point. But yeah, the yaks, especially now we take a look at how many that are blue players got, and he's up to 12 yaks already, is going to make for a very nice transition for his food economy. It's going to make it a lot easier of a burden when he does run out of hunts, especially against a civ like Sioux, who could potentially be providing a lot of pressure in the early/mid-game portion of the game. Going to definitely be good for him to kind of buy himself a little bit of time.
Yeah. So what are we expecting here in this particular game? I feel as if French has, you know, a really good way. It's actually a pretty good civ against Sioux, because, you know, the Sioux like to run around raiding. That's what they do. Age 2. They mass bow riders, which are actually very strong. Just so many hit points on those things, and they move so quickly. And they have this ridiculous. They're not actually, every other ranged cavalry unit in the game is a negative multiplier versus villagers, but for Sioux, nope. ESO thought, actually, we'll get rid of that. But perhaps that's to encourage some sort of playstyle with the Sioux, which is indeed what they do. They like to raid. But French have 40% range resist. That's going to help. And also, these are actually pretty good in combat if you get the upgrades. And I've seen a lot of French players, or some French players at least, send the, actually, interesting enough, Pioneers, which is indeed in this player's deck. And
I was actually just going to mention that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Goongoon's got a really strong build here that he can do. He can do like some sort of single or dual racks musket play, backed up with this like 8-minute yak economy that he's going to have. And indeed, that's what it looks like he's going to do. Just play very defensively with muskets for the first portion of the game, and then timing push potentially with all of his villagers, a bunch of muskets and pioneers. It's like the closest thing that we have to an all-in cheese in this game, and it's actually really, really good, especially against Zoo.
Yeah, like if you French have a really good economy. You mass up a decent amount of musks with that, and then when you get to your critical mass, you're just like, hey, got pioneers, all of these market upgrades for my villagers. Time's up. Let's do this. Walk over to your opponent's base and just stick everything on their town center, like everything, all of these units, just including your villagers, just there. What can the Sioux do? Like, nothing. Their villagers go inside their town center. They don't come out because you're...
It's very difficult. Maybe a naked FF, and I think that's what we're actually going to see Boneng do. He's got 2 trading posts already. Has already shipped 700 gold. I mean, this is like the most naked-looking FF that I guess you could really do.
2 trading posts. Wow.
We can already see he's on his way up. And I think it's actually a pretty smart play, because I think he's kind of expecting. He did do a good job of scouting. He saw the 2 Raxes with his Mongol scout. He identified that the livestock pen was built. He knows there's going to be potentially a very strong mid-game push coming his way.
Yeah.
And so the way that he's going to try and combat that is get into the Fortress Age as quickly as possible and just try and stem the flow of units with Wakinas and the proper counters. And I think that's a really smart play. Might even make rifle riders or something like that. And I think it's going to be fairly effective, because this can be normally fairly difficult to deal with Sioux. And I think the best way to try and deal with it is to do this maybe just purely tech-based play.
I think Sioux, as a civilization, I've thought to myself, obviously their colonial play is so strong, so you'd never really consider doing it. But going up to Fortress Age is actually quite nice for them. They don't have to build any houses, which is, actually not as good as it sounds. It's really, well, it's good. It's definitely very good. But you don't have to send a 700 wood shipment, essentially, because you don't need to build any houses for your fast fortress. And since you don't need to build any population slots, that's 1 extra shipment you can have in the next age. Though you do still have to find the wood from somewhere for some sort of military building. Is that a thing? This helps him out with his... is the Sioux actually good at fast fortress?
Yeah, of course. Sioux's really good in Fortress. Definitely a good Fortress Age civ. One thing that I do like already is just the inclusion of rifle riders in his build. It seems like he's expecting this like musket villager timing, and is like essentially like just preparing explicitly for that.
Yeah.
If there were to be maybe any deviation from Goongoon at this point, it would maybe be kind of difficult for Goongoon to deal with, because he is sinking basically. He's sinking pretty much everything into expecting this build, and I think fortunately for him, we're going to see just that. We see 8 expos coming. I'm curious as to whether or not we'll see Pioneers gathering up from those yaks at this point.
Yeah.
It has the resources to make lots of musks, and even though Goongoon has a good read on it and has, I think, identified precisely what he's going to be up against, I think he's still going to find it very difficult to hold. We just take a look at the sheer number of units. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff here.
That's good. Really efficient shipments. Rifle riders as a unit are just so good. There's nothing else that compares to them. I guess they're they act in place of falconets in a way, almost like they're that ×3 damage multiplier against heavy infantry. Actually, I don't really know what they're like. Because they also like dragoons. They're like dragoons. Well,
they're a broken unit. They're a combo buster. They're very good against like the musk husk like metagame, and makes them really strong. There's still so many units here though. I think we're just going to see Goongoon gather these last couple of yaks, pull all of his villagers, and just right click across the map. And there's nothing convincing in Boneng's base that makes me think like he has a chance of holding it, if that's indeed what does end up happening.
Yeah, like all of these units, which I think are now on the move, just going to sit there. It's definitely quite tough.
Yeah, lost two of the dog soldiers already for not much of a trade. This is going to be tough. I'm curious to see what his next shipment will be. I would assume it has to be 9 Wakina. Here comes the push, and here come the CDBs with it.
Oh, he's going for it. That's we'll see Pioneers most likely sent. At
there
some
it
point.
is, and this is going to be a tough push to hold. I mean, and he's engaging the treasure as well, just as this push is coming.
Oh, he's going to have to abandon that. I think the Carrera de Bois can, one of those guys can just pick it up real quick and 300 XP if indeed Blue tries to go for that. I don't think he's going to actually.
No, timing is of the essence right now, and we do see 9 Wakina coming. They're gonna be able to kite the musk a little bit here, but there is a lot of French madness out on the map, and this is going to be very, very difficult to hold.
Can he do it? I mean, rifle riders are very efficient. I'm not. Would you compare them to falconets? Like I said earlier, I just want to clear that up. They're not.
No, they're a combo buster. They're just like they're meant to beat musk house, I guess. Yeah. This is not going well for Boneng already, though.
No, he's those musks are just going to siege down that, just siege that down straight up. And the Carreras.
He's essentially using his villagers to fight and his musks to siege.
Oh wow, okay. Like traditionally in this matchup, at least when French isn't playing, bow riders will be matched age 2, and it's very much can I be efficient, not lose my villagers to the Sioux raiding. And then you just wait, and eventually at about the 15-minute mark, Sioux's just like, oh wait, actually my economy sucks now and I've lost. So it's very much, can I just hold out and wait? But here, very different play style. I think that's what he was doing, waiting in his base, for that timing push, and if there were bow riders, that sort of play style would come into play. But ouch.
Boneng is trying his hardest, but there's nothing he can do. This build is incredibly difficult for Sioux to deal with. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Goongoon still has more villagers than his opponent does, and he's moved all of his villagers and been like sieging TCs and stuff with them, and he still has more villagers.
Yeah, I like how he's left a couple of villagers at home. Obviously, not all of them are out there. He's going to continue villager production continuously with the villagers at home. Couple on coin as well. I presume he had lots of yak meat staved up and he was creating musketeers out of that, but no longer really needs them on coin. Anyway, at this point, what does Boneng do, Zuta? I mean, he has no town centre. Where are his villagers scattered around the map gathering resources?
Yeah. I mean, one thing he probably needs his explorer to get some mobility back. He's eventually just going to get sought out. I mean, the other good thing about bringing your CDBs with you like this, right, is the fact that you don't have to worry about getting raided back at home because you can just move your economy with your army, and just anywhere your army goes, your economy comes with you, and you can continue just to gather resources from the safety of your armies, and I mean, the game is over. There's no way Boneng is ever going to get a TC up. No. He does have 2 trading posts, which is giving him quite a lot of XP.
He can't spend it, though. What spawn point does he have for shipments to arrive at?
Yeah, he doesn't. He needs a town center up, and he's never going to be able to get one up, unfortunately.
Yeah. I know this map is really good for, obviously, playing as India, as we covered in some of the previous games in previous weeks. Do you think perhaps the civilization choice here? I mean, he won the previous game, so he had to pick this civilization first. And perhaps, what do you think of Sioux on this map? Is it if you're going to use it at some point, is this a good map to do it on? I mean, there's lots of cows you can pick up with your fast-moving explorer, but aside from that, I'm tempted to say,
if you're gonna pick Sioux, you want to pick Sioux as a response to something. You want to pick Sioux as like a counter pick.
Yeah.
You don't want to pick Sioux like as your first civ. It just is. It's too risky. There's too many counters to Sioux. I mean, Japan is a really good counter. Obviously, we're seeing how effective this French build is against Sioux. He is going to get a TC out, mind you, in this bottom part of the map. And
he's going for it. He doesn't quit this guy.
Goongoon is really lucky there's not like 2 hand cav out on the map, because he's got every single one of his villagers in line of sight of a Boneng TP, completely undefended. So he's very fortunate like one of those dog soldiers isn't alive, just like up there killing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Boneng did get a TC up. He probably has likely. Let's see, we can turn that off. Does have a shipment almost 2 available to him. but he actually did save even quite a few of his villagers. But he's just too spread out, I think, at this point. I don't think it's likely that we see any sort of comeback here from Boneng.
No, and we look at the economies, right? 26 Carrera de Bois. I'm going to bring up my calculator. Calculator hype, everybody. 26 multiplied by 1.25 is... And of course he has market upgrades. 32.5 villagers. Su does not have market upgrades. And even if he did have a market, he cannot actually get steel traps. And, you know, at this point, Goongoon's going to continue to get further and further ahead. It scales. French is a very nice tip. And here he's actually identified the placement of that town centre. So, you know, even if he was left for, you know, 15 minutes, I still can't see him.
And then we have the 5 axe riders out, which is nice because now he's going to be able to go up there. And I mean, we can see he's trying to work his way up to that northern side of the map. If he can kill all of those CDB that are exposed up in the top side of the map, maybe there's a chance. He still does have 21 villagers. He did manage to get all the villagers out of that town center. And there's a strong possibility that French loses every single one of his CDB here.
That's a good point. He's going to go into.
They have pioneers and attack upgrades and stuff. They're probably just going to be able to fight their way out of it.
Yeah, obviously they have 13 hand attack, which is really good actually. You just go into villagers have surprising amount of hand damage in this game, even regular villagers. Yeah, and wow, they are very strong. That was okay.
That was not.
Not what Boneng was expecting. Not what.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense,
that,
right?
I mean,
They've got
so
many upgrades, but that's not really an outcome you expect to see. Perhaps this is why he's so happy to just leave his villagers over here.
Yeah, because he knows they're really not in any real danger.
Well, they're old enough to look after themselves now. Just
yeah. I mean,
he's just like, "Are you? What have you got left then, Boneng? Show it to me."
The thing is, Goongoon's down to 22 CDB versus 20 bills. I mean, yeah, the game is over, but it's. I think he thinks he's slightly further ahead than he actually is. Like, yes, he does have 73 military pop versus 0. He's very far ahead. Don't misunderstand me, but
yeah.
I think he thinks like Boneng has like 2 villagers and nothing else. But Boneng is actually like kept up in terms of villagers. Has a war hunt back up.
Yeah. Having said that, though, those
yeah, he's gonna lose some villagers soon again.
And they're not working; they're just walking around the map. So it's well, yeah, he's calling it there. I mean, I admire his determination. I mean, it was I suppose you can argue if since it is quite a competitive match, you know, he I suppose he can keep it going, and he might, you know, try his very best to see if he can come back. It is entirely possible. This is Boneng we're talking about. Very strong.
And everyone loves the miracle comeback. Like, everyone loves to watch the miracle comeback. I mean, there's always there's a couple really good games on RTS Sync where people have come back from positions like kind of like this, but I mean, in order for that to happen, like, the French player has to make a very large blunder, something like, I don't know, like deleting his villagers or something, I guess. But it's always fun to watch it come back.
Oh yes, that's certainly something. Ultimately, though, Goongoon picking up his first win in this series. The score is currently 2-1 to Boneng. Let's move on out of this game.